Welcome back to the Teletran 1 files. Continuing Transformers Prime, we are at Transformers Prime Episode 4, Darkness Rising, Part 4. Picking up from Part 3, as Megatron's army of Dark Energon-powered Terracons march, Optimus and Ratchet are horrified at the desecration. The Dark Energon flowing through Megatron gives him control over this new army, and he directs them to destroy the two Autobots. When the Terracons keep getting up as fast as Optimus can blast them down, Ratchet discovers that dismemberment is a more effective way of dealing with them. As he quotes, "The smaller the pieces, the better." Meanwhile, at the Decepticon ship, Bulkhead rescues Jack and Raph, who were under fire from the Decepticon sentries. They explain they were worried about Miko, who pops up from Bulkhead's back seat. Bulkhead drops everyone off behind some cover before driving under the Decepticon ship, scaling a nearby cliff and jumping on board. After dealing with a bunch of Decepticons, Bulkhead realizes that Miko's not with the other kids, and she pops out of his chest, having stowed away. Miko finds herself in the middle of the fight between Bulkhead and the Cons, which the Autobot swiftly terminates with the help of a piece of deck plating. While the pair move into the ship, problems are occurring outside. Jack and Raph are captured by the Decepticons and taken on board the ship, while Bumblebee and RC abruptly appear and rescue them. The two parties run into each other in a corridor, and Jack and Raph let RC know where Fowler is, having hearing their guard talking. Starscream's interrogation of Fowler is finally beginning to bear fruit, where the distant sound of gunfire can be heard. As Fowler stops being helpful, Starscream gives him a jolt with the Energon prod, stunning him into unconsciousness, and sends the two guards to find out what's going on. Meanwhile, back at the Terracon battle. Play. Ratchet notes that the exposure to the Dark Energon is sapping their strength. But they fight on. But first, Optimus, then Ratchet disappear under piles of Terragons. When the Terragons outnumbered, Megatron laughs. But with the cry, Optimus breaks free and helps Ratchet up. The Autobots clear out the Nemesis' bridge of Vehicons and instruct the kids to hide there. Miko and Jack immediately begin arguing over the situation, which upsets Raph. Jack and Miko try to reassure him, before Jack notices a huge computer display. Raph thinks it has important information on it. Meanwhile, back in the interrogation room, it's been complicated by Fowler's now dazed state. It's further complicated when Bulkhead and Bumblebee appear in the doorway. They aim their guns at Starscream, who aims his at Fowler, only to feel a tap on the head. He looks up to find RC is balanced in a shaft right above him, aiming her blaster downwards. The kids know they found important information, but are at a loss as to how to get it back to Optimus. As Raph contemplating using the flash drive, a Decepticon walks in. The kids dive for cover, but Raph goes back for his backpack and is spotted by the Decepticon. The Mexican standoff is in the brig is broken when Fowler distracts Starscream, and the Autobots start firing. Starscream decides discretion is called for, and he flies off down the nearest corridor. The Decepticon starts firing on Raph. Jack heroically runs out and tackles Raph behind one of the Decepticon corpses, before instructing Miko to take a picture of the computer screen. The kids leg it from the room, followed by the Decepticon, who was promptly taken out by Bulkhead. Reunited, the kids and Autobots make their escape. Meanwhile, back at the Terracon battle, Optimus and Ratchet finish off the Horde, and Optimus starts climbing up to Megatron. Megatron compliments on Optimus due to his performance, but boasts that the battle was simply a prelude to the main event, and flies off. Ratchet wonders ominously what Megatron's endgame is. Meanwhile, back at base, Ratchet's damaged arm is tended to, and Optimus tells off Bulkhead for letting the kids accompany him in the battle. Miko defends Bulkhead and tries to claim they were doing recon by showing the snap schematics, but Jack's upset about the fact that they were almost killed and decides he wants out of the whole affair. After some sad farewells, except for Ratchet, they send him home by ground bridge. Meanwhile, back on the Decepticon ship in orbit, Megatron abuses Starscream for disobeying his orders, which has resulted in damage to the ship, which threatens to delay Megatron's plans. Starscream manages to quell his master's anger by announcing he has a way to get their plans back on course. Miko pays Jack a visit and tries to talk to him into returning to the Autobots, but he's content to go back to his normal life. Ratchet, meanwhile, is checking out the data Miko photographed, and he realizes that it's the specs for a space bridge part. Bulkhead thinks it's great that Megatron's thinking of leaving, but Optimus points out that he's probably intending to bring an army to Earth with it, and the only place he can find enough Transformer corpses to build a new army is their home planet, Cybertron. And this is when... And the next episode would be Darkness Rising Part 5. The climax to the very first 5 episodes before Part 6. And this is when all the events come to a head. And I like when the part before the last part. As I said before, all the stories leading up to it, all the events that happen, it's all coming to one big conclusion. And I used to think, like, when it first says to be continued, when I remember first seeing it, I didn't like cliffhangers, but the main goal is for a cliffhanger is to keep you, like, on your knees, and that feeling you're wondering what happens next. I started not liking cliffhangers, but now I'm really starting to understand what it is.